Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
But inside is so delightful.
It's Christmas in July.
Let's review.
Let's review.
Let's review.
What a trend.
Season 10.
Bum.
Boom. All right, folks. That's right. Season 10 of Christmas in July is upon us. And we kicked things off last week with a look at Full House, a nice nostalgic comfort food favorite. Dragon, this episode that we're covering is from a show that is neither nostalgic nor comfort food, but it is very intriguing. And after watching this episode, I definitely want to maybe take a look at it. We're talking Love, Death, and Robots, baby, all through the house. This is 5 minutes of pure Christmas terror, and it's kind of delightful, very disturbing. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it as someone who's not usually a horror connoisseur. So yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into this one.
Yeah. This is maybe my favorite Love, Death, and Robots segment. Honestly, I've been waiting for us to get to this one for a while. I keep trying to squeeze it in there, but by the time I figured out we already had like the lineup, whatever year I found this in, and then it was a matter of like, well, you kind of led me. You kind of led me down the path, like, oh yeah, we can do seasonal shenanigans. And they said, no, we can't do this for seasonal shenanigans. No, it doesn't fit because technically, Love, Death, and Robots is a show instead of like a TV show. It's like we
Yeah.
can't do that. So it was like there was a lot of false hope there. Anyway, so finally, we're talking about it. I think it's really inventive. I think it looks great. It's a nice mixture of tones going on here. It's like one of those little novelty kind of sand things you get like a fair. It's like a little green, little red, little
Yes, yes.
multicolored sand thing. Put like a bottle or something. I don't know. Yeah, I love that. It's kind of Christmas meets a Del Toro vibe, and I dig it.
Oh, very much so. Very much got the Del Toro vibes. Absolutely.
Was a little bit of a not a whole lot of background, but I can Blink Studios did this. The idea of Love, Death, and Robots is I believe Tim Miller spearheaded the whole thing, where it's mostly at the very least in the first season. I don't know if the majority of them or at least some of them were animated by his studio. I believe I forget Blizzard was his studio or not. Blur is his studio. So but yeah, so this is by Blink Studios. So they got a lot of different flavors, a lot of different studios in there over time. So we have Blink Studios doing this one, and interestingly, at this time, was the first stop motion short that Love, Death, and Robots did. Of
Yeah, it's really good stop motion too.
course, in a year, very appropriately with the backdrop of this as always. Uh, 30 years of another iconic, kind of like more horror leaning.
I mean, yeah, and Nightmare Before Christmas, like that is a big one. That's a huge anniversary. The problem is we've already talked about it to death.
Well, no. I'm getting at it's kind of ironic that here we are talking about a kind of another darker kind of Christmassy stop motion.
This is very much like if Nightmare Before Christmas was pushed to the extremes.
Yeah, like what if we took that little shrunken head scene, then we just lingered, like, what if we just like lingered on, just like let it kind of take over for about 7 minutes.
Oh God. Yeah, basically, you're not wrong.
Anyway, so yeah, it's this thing from what I understand is very well received. I forget which I believe was award nominated. It was very good, and yeah, I can't wait to talk about it.
All right. Well, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. This should be one of our shorter ones because without credits, I think it's only about 5 minutes in length. So
Then of course us breaking it down probably be like 5 hours, so buckle up.
naturally. And honestly, Dragon, one thing I have noted with I've watched this 3 times, kind of just meticulously taking notes and stuff, and this, I mean, for as horrifying as some of this is, it is wall to wall tropes.
Oh yeah.
Like there are a ton of tropes that this thing manages to fit in. So, and we're gonna milk the tropes for all it's worth. So speaking of which, we get a quick exterior of the house. Christmas lights, Dragon. Christmas lights. We only see them for a few seconds, but trope.
Yep, Christmas lights. It's snow
No.
covered, snow, wonderful snow. Yep, we got the lights. We got
We're
the
dreaming
tree.
of a white Christmas, but it might just be a red Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Or
The
at
red.
least a disturbing, like, bulbish pink Christmas.
Oh, this is Del Toro's take on the red guy from Cow and Chicken.
Oh my god. Jesus.
Anyway, no, but seriously, this is so we have little Billy woken up by his sister, Lee, I believe is how you say her name.
I think Leah.
Oh yeah, there's an H there, so I guess Leah. So Billy wakened by Leah here. You'll notice he's wearing some Christmas PJs, some festive
I
Christmas.
love the PJs. I love the design. I love the fabric of, on the stop motion.
Oh yeah. So
Of course, the moose with the sunglasses. Just, you can't go wrong. Or reindeer, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Is it a reindeer or is it a Christmas moose? I want to say the snout looks more moose-like.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to see it again, Tiki. But call me crazy. I'm going to assume it's a reindeer.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, unless they're in Canada, which I mean, I'm pretty sure they're in the UK, given it was a UK studio. Most of the kids have English accents, but you never know. Maybe they're Brits that immigrated to
Oh my god.
to the old Maple Leaf state. Who knows? The old Maple Leaf.
Okay. All right. So just rattling off the tropes here. We got, a brother and a sister. I'd say that's just a trope unto itself. Stop motion is a trope unto itself, I would say.
Which is intentional, a little bit of Rankin Bass.
Of course. I mean, we literally get like a stop motion Inception in this. So, let's see. Also, getting woken up by the sounds of Santa on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
That is a trope. Sneaking out of your bedroom in the early morning hours to try and sneak a peek at Santa. That's a trope unto itself.
So seemingly we see the shadow of Santa Claus. We have stockings, Tiki, stockings.
Yeah, and might I just say, Dragon, I don't know if it's just me, but just the design of the stockings with, just stuffed with the presents, it's very comforting and nostalgic. It really is.
Oh yeah. So it's a very also let me highlight this. Very nice looking mantle they have.
Yes, it is a nice looking mantle.
It's a very nice home.
That is a nice mantle.
I appreciate a nice mantle now and again. So
I want to say this is kind of done in like that sort of Skinamarink vibe where it's sort of vaguely alluding to like a 90s sort of flair with the TV and the and the colors.
Yeah. So speaking of which, they're watching, the gag here, watching something that's a little more like traditional Rankin Bass-esque looking animation on the TV of like a meeting Santa Claus story. Now it's interesting. I don't know what they're pulling from exactly in here. I couldn't quite find it, unfortunately, but I'm pretty. It either just happens to sound like this, or they actually pull like a very obscure holiday thing that this actor did. I'm pretty sure that's Ed Asner Santa Claus.
Oh my god, I'm so freaking glad you mentioned that.
Right?
It did sound like Ed Asner, but I did not want to say it. But yes, it very much does sound like Ed Asner.
Because remember, Ed Asner loved playing Santa, and he has.
What they could have done is they could have pulled Ed Asner Santa Claus dialogue from another spot and this just inserted it into like generic Rankin Bass looking animation.
That's the thing. I can't place it per se if that's what they did, or if there's like an obscure Santa Claus thing additionally that Asner did, because he has played Santa like probably a handful of times, so it's possible. But yeah, I think that's most likely. I'd like to think it's with it because that sounds identical to Ed Asner.
It very much sounds like him, yes.
Which one, loving true, because he was a great Santa Claus and he loved that role, so that's really nice. Also, a little Rankin Bass throwback, and we can't get Mickey Rooney. What's the next best thing?
Very much so, yes.
All right, so it's a nice misdirect too of like, okay, the kids are seeing the shadow.
I mean, it's like this is Love, Death, and Robots, so it's like you gotta think that something's gonna go wrong at some point, but at the same time, it is kind of lulling you into a false sense of security.
Exactly. So the kids are hiding to catch Santa in the act. And then we have the shadow, and then we see the milk and cookies. But then something happens with the milk and cookies.
Dragon, this is what I really wanted to be the thumbnail, just because milk and cookies is such a trope in itself.
Well, you could have mentioned the milk and cookies.
Of course. And I don't know. I just don't think that because as I kind of had a little bit of a debate in my head about what we really should go with for the thumbnail. Ultimately, I decided to show the whole creature just because the creature design in itself is just very eye-catching. But I don't know. I do love the image of the tentacle in the milk and cookies. I just think it was a little bit too vague for the thumbnail. But I do think that it is a good kind of like summation of Christmas in July, like as an image.
Oh, for sure. So we just have this milk and cookies, and little tentacle is it just appears and is drinking the milk, and nabs the cookies, like takes the whole tree of cookies. Like, oh god. So
I love how it's like this thing is literally introduced with a belch gag, and yet it's still terrifying.
I love how we just keep building up. So we have like the the milk and cookies, and then as the cookie plate gets like taken away, you see like you glimpsing it from behind the tree, so it's obscure, but you can kind of make out. You see this giant red mouth with big monstrous teeth that then is belching.
Yes.
And not in like a cuddly, like, oh, it's Mike Wazowski doing the belch gag.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's in a way that's like an intimidating, like he's gonna belch like that when he eats me.
Yeah. So, oh boy. So
when we get to the actual like design of the creature, I have 3 reference points that I want to bring up that I'm curious if you agree with. But you want to build it a little more?
Yeah, so we have like don't we have like a spin on the plate or something? Isn't like the plate?
Yes, the plate spin like the plate spins into view, and then I think we get the jump scare with the claws, which I also love under the tree.
Exactly. So we see like the sandy claws, one could say. Yep. Little Nightmare Before Christmas reference there. I wonder if that's intentional. Anyway, so we have the claws. I
mean, I honestly think what you said about the whole like let's see, like let's just go nuts on the scene where Jack Skellington ruins Christmas. Like, what if we saw the graphic details of that?
Yeah,
Dragon, honestly, I don't think you're that far off with like what the pitch for this actually was.
Yeah, it's like let's do the Love, Death, and Robots version of that Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. So this is great. I love this. So we have like just the detail and the fact that it's stop motion too. Because I admit, when I watched this for the first time way back, initially I assumed it was CG, like the large majority of the Love, Death, and Robots shorts. But when it really sinks, because it looked. Yeah, I'm not saying it didn't look like stop motion, but it's one of those things where nowadays where we're at with animation, a lot of times, like you look at something like Monster House, for example. Monster House is looks vaguely stop motion-y, but it is computer animated. So, anyway, so the fact is, you look at the detail on this monster, even as we're building up, you have like the slime and mucus on the skin.
Yeah.
And as it walks, the lights get unplugged, so we're kind of taking away like the visual yet again. It's very with the Christmas lights. There's a bit of a Stranger Things vibe as well.
Sure.
Anyways, this is the high production values of this whole thing too. So the fact that these guys probably do not have a lot of time for these shorts, but what they are turning out is just stunning here.
I mean, that's probably why this short is like even shorter than the usual Love, Death, and Robot episode, I would imagine.
I mean, more or less. I mean, here's the thing: I think the usual episodes are a little longer, but I'm imagining because so rarely are they stop motion anime that probably would be why this is shorter than the rest. Let me put it this way: average episodes probably without credits at least 10 to 15 minutes max.
Because I honestly think with a premise like this, you could stretch it out to like a 15-20 minute segment if you really wanted to, but they probably just didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Definitely a budget. I mean, already animation, costs time and money, but I mean, stop motion would like double that. So unplugs the lights, and then he sees the kids, and then we reveal this slowly but surely reveal this horrifying Del Toro design. I say Del Toro not just for the fact that Del Toro knows how to design a monster, but I mean we have like Pan's Labyrinth hands. Like
it is very much alien hands. Yes, I'm pretty damn sure that's pretty deliberate. It must be.
My favorite thing with this design that we highlight a little later is just the fact that we give him Pan's Labyrinth hands. One, that's entirely a Del Toro reference. That's not just like we give him gift hands, but I love the fact that we gave the creature hands so it can hand presents.
Yes. Okay. This is the thing about this creature that I really love, Dragon. It's disturbing as all get out. It's horrifying, and yet functionally, it is basically Santa Claus.
Yeah. It's Del Toro saying it's Del Toro in a room practicing. I know he's not involved in this directly, but just imagine it's Del Toro in a room almost like if he were working on this, he'd be like, let me think. What does Santa Claus need? Well, he needs a way to eat the milk and cookies, needs to hand the kids the gifts. And, we need something for the namesake. So claws. He's got to have
Oh my
claws. They got
God.
to be red.
So would you like to hear the three characters that I kind of have like as a trifecta for this design?
I have a comparison as well, but you go first. Yeah, what do you got?
Okay, so obviously you got the pale man hands, of course. You already mentioned that. That's very blatant. Yeah. I would say the mouth and specifically the teeth are obviously very xenomorph-esque. And then honestly, Dragon, I would say the body is very Slimer-esque.
Well, I mean, with
just how bloated it is and everything.
Maybe.
And the drool, like, kind of like the gross out factor.
They said pale man. Did you say xenomorph in the middle there?
Yes, pale man, xenomorph, Slimer.
With the bulbous nature of the Slimer. Yeah, I can buy it. Yeah. I mean, that's my comparison is a lot simpler. I was just thinking Alien, aka the Xenomorph meets Del Toro meets Christmas. That's essentially what that was my boiled down version of it. But yeah,
the long and short of it is, I think it's probably more likely just Xenomorph meets Pale Man.
Yeah,
but yeah. I don't know, that bulbous body plus the belch. The belch is honestly the one big thing that gives me a Slimer vibe.
Also, just with the claw, just the reveal of the claws and everything, there's a touch of Gremlins just given the Christmas.
A little bit, yeah. The claws are kind of like, I think the claws are probably the most unique part of the design as far as like I can't really tell what exactly they're pulling from.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, it kind of has the shape of the Cloverfield monster of all things. Just
with the big arms, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right.
A little less Slimer. You know what else the body is kind of reminiscent of?
What?
Little Zool from Ghostbusters.
I could see that. Just a general Ghostbusters vibe. Yeah. Okay, but this thing, man. So it makes its grand appearance, and then I think by far the most terrifying element of this whole short is just the drool and how the mouth interacts with the kids.
And just the fact that they say, hey, here's how Santa operates, apparently. I think here's the really horrifying question you got to wonder. I know there's going to be a later one at the very end. But
I know what you're going to ask, and I have an answer for it. Go ahead.
So the question is, this thing will have had to go the full Jack Skellington, like from the song, where, from What's This? Where he's going to have to go into the kid's
Every single fucking kid is going to get this treatment, whether they're awake or not.
That's the thing. So
that's the horrifying implication.
So presumably, that's the thing. If these kids were in their bed, this monster would go into their rooms and do like the snarl.
Could you imagine waking up like while he's like just lingering over you?
But here's the genius of it, okay? Okay, so one of two things would happen. Well, one of three things. We'll get there at the end.
The kid might just assume it's like a sleep paralysis demon or something.
That's the thing. They're going to assume like, okay, it's if they tell their parents, oh, you just had a nightmare, and then of course either going to be that or like you just had a nightmare. But hey, the kids will forget all of that because they got exactly what they wanted for Christmas.
Okay, you know what, Dragon? I'm actually breaking this down like logically. As far as how this would fundamentally work if Santa Claus as a concept was a real thing, all right? So just follow my logic on this.
All right, I'll follow the illogical.
What you just said with the whole like telling the kids and the parents not believing them. Mm-hmm. If it was a man in a suit that the kids saw, that would be more cause for alarm.
Yeah.
So what if the scary like monster demeanor is just like a front for like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like if an actual adult man breaks into the house, that's going to cause widespread panic if kids all over the world are saying that,
Are you saying the creature can actually speak coherently and everything, or are you saying like?
I'm not saying it can speak coherently. I'm just saying like that probably biologically part of the design is to appear monster-like for the sake of the. It's kind of that whole. Remember that movie I told you about with Desmalchin, the boogeyman?
Yeah.
It's kind of that philosophy where it's like the monster kind of feeds on the fact that the parents won't believe the kids.
Right.
Except in this case, it's actually kind of a positive thing.
Yeah, it's a built-in kind of like it's built-in secrecy.
Right.
It's a built-in contingency.
I'm probably looking at this like way harder than the people actually making this short.
Well, no, I think there is probably a cleverness of like just the conception of the idea of like why make Santa Claus a monster? Well, that no one's going to believe.
I mean, I do really think that is the most fascinating element of this short is kind of like the the amount of role building that you can do in your own head about how this thing functions.
Yeah, sometimes you need brevity, kid. Sometimes you need brevity and vagaries, and I'm looking at you, the Santa, the Santa Clauses.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mission Impossible, because Dragon I/O, that runtime is still just a hard thing to work around. Anyways,
Anyway,
freaking 2 hour, 45-minute runtimes, people, for blockbusters. Stop doing it. All right, I'm done.
so so the fact is, this creature's going to be going there. So, I mean, best case scenario, the kids are going to be like distracted by like, hey, we got our gifts. It was just a nightmare. I'm going to shrug it off, or hey, we're going to be traumatized forever. But and the parents will never believe them.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the ending to this short is probably like the more realistic outcome. It's just going to be trauma.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have this horrifying Del Toro design realized, and then we just have like the hands opening. We see the mouth, and it has to get real close to the kids to essentially smell them, and then says the name in a creepy. Yeah.
I mean, just the whole, like, of course, the putting the hands up to the sides of the face and then just spreading the hands, all fingers. That's very much Pale Man.
Yep, and says, good. I the minute this thing leaned in, I knew exactly where it was going. Like, okay, he's gonna decide if the kid's going to bed right now. Now I'm on the edge of my seat, hoping, like, knowing Love, Death, and Robots, I'm just gonna really hope both kids are good, because it could have gone either way.
You know what I like, though, is I like the fact that, much like the children themselves, we, the audience, are left with the question. Like, it's the classic horror movie, staple of what you don't see is probably more horrifying. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what would happen if they were bad?
Yeah. So he then basically in the image that we have here, he throws up this, he regurgitates this long. He regurgitates a present, and her gift is like he regurgitates this big box present, which looks really good with the slime there in terms of.
I hate the fact that it's so covered in saliva, though. Just from,
however, you'll notice though when she's holding it, the saliva's all gone.
No, you're right. I
think it's like a magical thing, maybe. Like, okay, we'll just initially.
Yeah.
And maybe when you rip off the paper, it looks nice. Who knows?
So the boy gets an even worse treatment, just on the basis that. And I hate this, Dragon. This is the most disturbing moment in the whole thing for me. The tongue just kind of like goes out and like tickles the nose just a little bit. I hate that.
So then with visuals, even better. This is the visual that we do have here, where he's regurgitating this longer box. Really, it's a baseball or something. Then you reveal it's even better. That's 10 times better than a baseball bat. It's this awesome. It's like Spielberg would approve of this. In fact, I have to wonder, maybe this is based in real life, Tiki. Maybe Steven Spielberg. No, it would have been a Hanukkah monster instead. Never mind. Okay, so, sorry, Fableman's misled us there. Okay.
It is a very Fableman's-esque train set, though.
No, that's the thing. We have very Fableman's-esque train set for a moment. Maybe this happened to Spielberg. This is his inspiration, but no. That would have been Hanukkah, not just this giant Santa Claus monster. It spits up this long, awesome train. It's exactly what I wanted.
God, Dragon, but I could see Mr. and Mrs. Fableman like telling the Fableman kids that is what Santa Claus is actually like.
Oh, T guys realized. Oh, you're gonna love this. Okay. So not Spielberg. Spielberg didn't have it. Spielberg had the Fableman's troop. That's how he got his train thing and how he won his directing career. Okay, you ready for this?
Sure.
Ridley Scott, because he's English. This little boy, if he had a different name, maybe this thing is based on what happened to Ridley Scott.
Right.
And this is where he got the idea for Alien.
Yeah, I can see.
There you go. You got the idea for the xenomorph. That's why the light's off. You can't tell it's red.
Oh man.
Yeah, anyway, so it's exactly what I wanted. The monster literally crawls up the chimney, and the fire lights from the darkness. So also,
is the girl shell shocked that she doesn't even open her present? I think that is what the case is.
Yeah, because I know she doesn't open her presents. That's probably Also, fun detail. I love on the boys' train set, the wrapping paper. It's little Santa Clauses.
Yeah.
We have the Turbo Express. It's a lovely gift, by the way. Seriously, it's an awesome looking train. It's just what I wanted. So then they're in bed, and Billy then pauses. What would have happened if we weren't good? No, I'm sorry. The sister asks.
Yeah, the sister. Like I said, the sister, I think, is the one that's the more disturbed by it.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I misread that. Yeah, so she says, Billy, what would have happened if we weren't good? So the implication means the third outcome potentially of what would have happened is, okay, if they were bad, any of those bad, any witnesses that were not, pray tell, good, they would have been eaten.
I actually have a more creative and horrifying idea of what would have happened. Would you like to hear it?
They get eaten and crapped out as coal.
No, he would have basically stoned them to death with giant pieces of coal that he spat out of his mouth.
So basically, the claw with the little hands or with the claws, would he have bashed their brains in?
No, I'm just saying he would have like just vomited out pieces of coal that would have then just crushed them.
Oh, okay, I got you. Now basically bury him alive in coal.
Yeah. I don't know. I like to think in that stomach there's a bunch of coal.
Well, that's the other thing. Well, oh god, from a design standpoint, think about this. Just the fact that he gives a Santa Claus without the need to bring a bag because he swallowed everything.
Of course.
Not exactly
you have to wonder, like, if this is like maybe when he starts out his route, if he's just like basically kaiju sized.
It's a good point. It's a good question.
And then, like, and then he gets, smaller and smaller. Although I don't know, his stomach could just be a black hole.
Or alternative thought here. What if it's a legion of them? What if they're all Santa Claus?
Oh God, I think that's actually more likely.
Or more horrifyingly, what if there's a real Santa Claus and this is how he does it all in one night? Go, my creations, do bring Christmas magic in the most terrifying way possible. Go.
So honestly, Dragon, what we're speculating about right now, that pretty much sums up my final thoughts on why I like this thing so much, is just from a horror perspective, I love a good story that makes you wonder, and the things it makes you wonder about are potentially more scary than even the actual scary stuff that you saw in the piece itself. So yeah, I'm really loving this one.
I don't want to mention we do like the happy pull out, then the lights go out, just to give a little extra creepy ending too. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I'm still head over heels for this thing. I think it deserved all the acclaim that it got. This is wonderful. It did not nearly get enough attention, I feel, aside from, like, I guess the award circuits, because I don't think everyone goes to Love, Death, and Robots. I mean, yeah, it's a show. It's a show I think has kind of lost relevancy as it went on, because I think people's got a little too like, oh yeah, I've already seen that. There's like, watch the new season. Well, come on, man, give it a shot. You like the first batch?
It's a weird attitude to have for, like, specifically an anthology show.
That's the thing. I think just Love, Death, and Robots ultimately got overshadowed by all, like, the big Netflix news, or like the big.
I think specifically it got overshadowed by Black Mirror. Honestly,
yeah, that's the best example of it.
Yeah, because Black Mirror, and honestly, this seems a lot more accessible to me than Black Mirror does. And Black so I am probably going to binge this at some point. I am probably never going to binge all of Black Mirror because that show just seems like way too much on my psychological makeup. It just, I don't know. I tried watching a couple episodes of that show and it's, I don't know.
Okay, point being, I really enjoyed this. I think it's just really, really, really clever. I mean, it's dark, but it has like an optimistic tone to it despite the horror, and I really enjoy that. And I don't know, it's a lot of it hit in the right places, and it just looks really dazzling. It's just really cool. It's sci-fi. It's awesome, man.
All right, so let's go through the tropes. There's a surprising amount of them.
All right, let's see. So, snow, Christmas lights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Santa on the roof waking children up in the middle of the night.
Festive pajamas.
Yes. Brother and sister, I would say.
But again, brothers, I guess. I mean, sure. I don't know. His brothers just feels like, well, everything can have a brother and sister. Doesn't really make it Christmas, but you know.
Yeah, you're right. We can scratch that.
Okay, let's see. Some milk and cookies, though.
That's a big one. That's one of the big ones. Old stop motion, like stop motion in itself.
A little Rankin Bass reference there. Most likely Ed Asner.
Ed Asner in himself is a trope.
Yep. Let's see. So just the Christmas tree and the Christmas tree lights, you know, that kind of happened.
I would say the general concept of a scary Santa or a Krampus or, you know, Futurama's evil Santa, just that general concept.
The metal Santa.
Uh-huh.
Well, Futurama definitely that term definitely fits.
Dude, that is honestly one. Have we never covered that episode? I know I think I probably did it solo back in
Well,
the
that's
day.
the thing. Yeah, you did it solo. Yeah.
I'm covering that one.
All right. So let's see. Okay, let's see. 'Cause here's the thing. We have we have the Santa giving the kids presents.
Yes, the naughty and nice check.
Yep. Love the naughty and nice check. We have let's see. We have Santa Claus wrapping paper.
Sure.
Well, I'm saying Christmas wrapping paper, nice wrapping paper. Also, the Christmas train. A lot of times people will ask for the choo choo. Like look at the whole bunch. A lot of times there.
I would say Christmas trauma.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, there's some gift wrap deals for sure. Like, let's see. There's hold on a second. There's the Santa exit.
Of course, yeah, going up the chimney. Yeah.
Fireplace around the holidays.
All right.
Stockings and a nice mantelpiece.
Yes.
And I guess just I mean, I would call this a trope. It's the fact that we end on like the holiday pool app, but then we do a dark turn on it. But it's the fact like, and it's a Merry Christmas despite the trauma these kids have incurred. Like, and we're pulling out. And...
I hear you.
Okay, there we go. So, Tiki,
this is how we're going to get to the other 45 minutes of the episode.
You joke about that. Don't tempt me. I'll do it just to spite you. So, folks, yet again, we're at that point in the episode where we recounted all these lovely tropes, and we've had a darn good time doing it. Wouldn't you say? Yes, of course we have. We've had a great time going through these tropes and listening them like we were listening all the good little boys and girls that are going to get Christmas and holiday specials galore for this lovely time of year at the halfway point of Christmas. But it just feels like we need a term for recounting these tropes. We need something with kind of some stop motion flair, something that's maybe not as metal as this, but still something maybe pulling from the original source of this to some degree. We need something. We need something that glows a red, but not like Rudolph's nose. That's too red. It's too stop motiony. We need to dial it back. We need to go kind of cool and grim and macabre, but also something that's just kind of like a scientific process applied to the derivation of these tropes and the power that they hold within themselves. We need a process. We need maybe not an electron microscope, but something a little bit more manageable. And we need, I don't know, we need something to put under like a tool of science somewhere that we can just like zoom in and just kind of look at all the sleigh bells until our eyes get, until we're going to bed at night and dreaming of sugar plums dancing in our heads, despite the sweltering heat. Tiki, do you have any idea what we'd call this thing? Do you know what we'd call this phenomenon? Do you know what we'd call this process? Because I'm coming up empty. I got nothing. I got burnout, man. I got holiday burnout after 10 years. We got to come up with something, even if it's like a placeholder after 10 years. Do you have any suggestions? Anything at all? Say you, sir.
What about putting the mistletoe underneath the microscope?
You know what? I think it'll do.
Oh God. Next time on Christmas in July.
Fa la 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 la. Good.
La, 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 la,